Hello and welcome to Tech&Whatever, a new weekly show exploring the world of gaming, consumer technology, and pretty much everything related to them. Tune into our podcast on Spotify and check out our videos on YouTube, link in the description. My name is Ryan.
And this is the Focus speaking.
And welcome to the very first episode of Tech&Whatever. To everyone who's listening to this, congratulations for popping your Tech&Whatever cherry with us. While we cannot claim to bring you the most exclusive insider stories on everything that's going on in the tech and gaming space and be technical down to the finest detail while we're at it, our promise to you is that we will do everything we can to ensure the information we share with you is accurate to the best of our knowledge. Our reviews, opinions, and recommendations are in the best interest of our audience. We will be impartial to anyone and anything we mention in our show. And let's start things off with some weird shit going on in the desktop PC space because it seems that Konami, the Metal Gear Solid folks, are now making desktop PCs. And man, are they expensive. Because look at the specs they're offering. The lowest cost models uses the i5 9400F, GTX 1650, 8 gigs of 2666 RAM, and 512 GB SSD. Now, how would it cost to buy each of those components separately? Here in Singapore, they will add up to about 600 SGD. What are Konami charging for it? 884,000 yen, which is almost $2,400 in SGD. And we haven't got to the top model yet. It's an i7 9700 RTX 2070 Super, 16 gigs of 2666 RAM, and 1 TB SSD. And it costs 338,800 yen, which converts to $4,400 in Singapore. What the hell, man? Granted, their PC cases looks pretty cool, but this spec for this price? You kidding me? Really? All right. I don't know about this, but what are your thoughts, guys? Would you pull the trigger? Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think, yeah? Okay. We don't know whether these PCs will be sold outside of Japan, because it's Konami. What we do know is that you can do much, much better for much, much less. Right?
We have recent reports that Intel is hard capping RAM speeds on their B&H series motherboards at the BIOS level by sending these caps through the memory controllers on the CPU chips themselves, meaning there's nothing motherboard manufacturers can do about it. Basically, in the eyes of Intel, overclocking now involves doing it for both CPU and RAM. Doing either is the same as doing both, which is no longer allowed on motherboards other than those made specifically for overclocking, which for Intel is the Z or Z series chipset, and nothing else. The only way you can do any overclocking using an Intel CPU now is to buy a Z series board. Bought yourself a K series chip? No Z board, no overclock. Even if you go for the cheapest K series chip currently on the market, the i3 9350K. You want fancy 3600 MHz RAM to go with your unlocked i3? Sorry, either you have to blow more on your motherboard than your CPU to get a Z series one, or 2666 MHz is all you're ever gonna get.
Hearing this, you might think the solution is simple. Why not just use an XMP profile? Now here's the kicker. Actually, two kickers. First, because the RAM speeds are now locked at your BIOS level, and using processor itself, XMP profiles cannot be enabled to push the speeds above what the chip is rated for, You are only allowed to run your RAM at speeds Intel says your CPU supports. Second, even if you can, enabling XMP profiles could very well void the warranty on the CPU. This is not just an obscure clause in the warranty that nobody at Intel service centers give a damn about. It's been enforced on consumers before, and they will enforce it again. What are your thoughts on this? I think this is a bit stupid, to be honest.
Well, given that this is actually a new thing, the hard RAM speed cap, it's it smells of Intel going all out in their anti-consumerism.
Yeah, I think it's really weird on their part because they're losing market shares to AMD, right? And then now they're doing this hard capping RAMs, man. It's bottlenecking your performance.
It's their way of making people buy Z series motherboards. But why would you?
Yeah, why? Why would you ever do that? Right?
Just for using better RAM.
Yeah, it's not value. I mean, it's not value for customers.
All
It's
they
so
are doing
weird.
is forcing people to spend more
Yeah,
money to get the
yeah,
performance they're supposed to already have.
yeah. I totally agree on that. I smell bullshit. Corporate bullshit on this. So moving on to our next story, Intel has now been dropped by Apple. Apple, who have decided to go in-house for the designs and production of their iMac and MacBooks. They're going to be based on designs by ARM, whose chips are already in Apple's mobile devices. This is their attempt to fully optimize performance while minimizing the problems iMacs and MacBooks have over the years become as of their identities, I presume, as everything good about them, like the infamous MacBook Heat generation. Now, some thoughts into this topic that Apple is actually dropping Intel and going for ARM. Will there be, software compatibility problems? Maybe performance gaps in the ARM's processors?
Well, this is a gap they will have to sort of bridge in the transition period while they still have Intel chip based PCs and MacBooks coming out. I mean,
Yeah,
since
yeah.
the
Because
ARM
because
chips aren't actually coming until next year, so they'll need to find
yeah,
a way to switch
yeah. I
over
think
rather
I think
seamlessly.
the developers just to have faith then and start to optimize their programs like Adobe, like I mean Photoshop, maybe Premiere on the new ARM-based processors, I presume,
Yeah.
because like okay, you wouldn't buy a Mac for gaming, right? So most people buying a Mac is for creative use, I would presume, designers, musicians,
Productivity, basically.
yeah, productivity basically. So productivity apps have to be optimized for their ARM new base ARM processors, I would presume, in order to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if not, there will be like tons of bottlenecking or performance issues in the apps itself. So I believe Apple have to talk to the software makers to actually do that.
Yeah, and seeing this, you you can basically tell that Apple has been pretty fed up with what they've been getting from Intel for quite a while for them to resort to having to make their own chips.
Yeah, yeah. In a sense, they will be saving cost and they can optimize, the ARM processors or their own processors however they want it.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
because most of the stuff like MacBook overheating, a lot of it is down to the chip, which is Intel.
Yeah,
And people have been
yeah,
complaining about that, and there has been no way around it by using Intel chips. And You can tell this is their way of getting around that problem that Intel hasn't been able to solve for them.
Which is true. I would agree as well.
Yeah. Because,
So
from a more individual perspective, if your favorite brand of shoes suddenly started making shoes which their soles fell off after a few months, or was constantly out of stock for no apparent reason, you would go somewhere else to get your shoes, wouldn't you?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Which brings us to another story on Intel. Because the production of processors has also been a problem for them for most of this year. The 10nm consumer desktop CPUs will not be on the market until the second half of 2021, and manufacturing defects are delaying the 7nm chips until at least 2022, a full year behind schedule. This is after they had to issue a public apology for shipment delays in November 2019. And while all this has been happening, they have been hemorrhaging market share to the competition in the PC space, which is AMD. The 7nm processors are already in the market. The ones Intel have confirmed to be launching at their 2nd September event are for laptops, while the desktop versions of those chips will only come next year. Meaning in the time it would take for Intel to get to laptop 10nm, AMD would already have launched the Zen 3 desktop CPUs using the second generation of 7nm chips, which is expected later this year. Now, granted, Intel's 14nm i9 10900K is still top dog for gaming, but AMD's chips are far better value for money and offer better general purpose performance. And that's even before mentioning that all AMD CPUs are enabled for overclocking, XMP profiles are enabled for all AM4 chipset motherboards, so you can basically run any RAM speed you want without fearing for your warranty, and they are the only chipmaker running PCIe 4.0 right now, which is now even available on their mid-range B550 motherboards. Now, looking at all of this and how much time we've spent talking about them already, yeah, Intel is having it really tough these days, and you might notice that quite a bit of it is their own doing. Hard capping RAM speed smells entirely of Intel screwing the customers into spending more to get features they're already supposed to have. They're losing market share because the competition has been furiously innovating and developing better, more versatile, yet cheaper products, while they've been resting on their laurels making different versions of the same shit and charging more and more for them. You don't even need to go far to see, or rather hear, the impact of all this, because you're listening right now to two fuckers who have gone Team Red with their recent PC build, as they offer better all-round performance for what we do, both for and outside of this show, yet are cheaper core for core than Team Blue. Because in my most recent PC build, I'm using an R5 3600, not Intel. Ryan, you went AMD too, right?
Yeah, I went 3900X.
And what graphics card are you using? I'm using a 1660 Super.
I'm using a 2080 Super for my recent build. So
Asshole.
oh no. It's just, a bang for the buck.
Okay, now those terms we mentioned should be quite familiar to you because they happen to be the subject of our next story, which is about Nvidia, who has recently become the most valuable chip maker in America. Who did they dethrone? Intel!
Again. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Nvidia are rumored to be releasing the new flagship GPU soon. According to reports by TechRadar, the GeForce RTX 3080 is expected to crush the current daddy of consumer-level graphics cards, the RTX 2080 Ti. And there will be a Ti version of the graphics card coming probably by the end of the year. While there are rumors suggesting these cards may be priced in the same ballpark as the current 2000 series cards, we never know for sure until Nvidia actually launches the thing, which could be sometime this month.
Oh, this is exciting.
Now imagine the pricing strategy to be true. This could very well mean that the 2000 series GPUs may drop down a peg in price, with the 1000 series following suit. Imagine a 2060 Super going for 1660 Super money, brand new. I for one would sell my 1660 Super to get one. While those who very recently dropped a heap of cash on a 2080 Super may feel a bit screwed over.
Yes. I feel it. Because I just changed to a
Ha!
2080 Super.
Ha!
But I don't regret it. Anyway, I don't, to be honest, like, I mean, is 3080 going to be like super overpowered, or is it too over for consumer graphics card for now?
Yeah, could it well
Yeah,
be too much overkill in the consumer GPU space?
yeah.
Given
I
that
mean, there's
you are looking
for
at
enthusiasts, but
yeah,
for enthusiasts,
yeah, because
nothing is over.
because
Nothing
we're
is
looking
over.
at what RTX Titan levels of performance in a gaming PC.
Yeah, that would be insane.
It's a
By the
bit
way,
much, isn't it?
yeah, it's a bit much, to be honest. But I mean, currently games doesn't even go that high. You know,
Yeah,
for 2080, like while I'm gaming on a 2080 Super, I go max graphics on Call of Duty, and it runs fine, 140 frames stack. So I don't know.
yeah. I'm not having much problems gaming with my 1660 Super either, and that's what 2 rungs above yours. I mean 2 rungs below yours. Fuck, what am I
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah, it's okay. But I mean, like, if you're asking me, would I switch my 2080 Super to a 3080? I might very well wait for maybe 1 or 2 years after, because I can't justify myself buying a new 3080 because I don't need it, to be honest. Like, it's very how to say, it's very personal. So, are you an enthusiast? Do you want a 3080 Super? Do you have boatloads of cash to drop on a 3080 Super? Well, it's very personal, I think. The
Well,
the but the potential is probably unlikely. Spanner in the works is the PC market rival in chief, AMD, because the team Red is rumored to be launching their own flagship GPUs. From a consumer standpoint, this can only be a good thing, as this will keep NVIDIA on their toes. The last thing we want from NVIDIA to do is an Intel and become complacent and anti-consumer, forcing us to pay more to get features that were supposed to be already available, pumping out different versions of the same shit, and jacking up prices while they're at it. To quote Linus from Linus Tech Tips, we want them locking horns with the competition, not punching down at the consumers, aka us. Though this also brings another question: wait for all this new fancy stuff and go fully early adopter? Wait for the fancy stuff to land, then buy the previous gen stuff when the prices drop? Or just stick to what you have till Nvidia and AMD have sorted out some of their teething issues with their stuff and maybe slightly lower their prices?
well, for me, given that I don't actually need this level of performance, I may actually wait for them to come out and for the previous gen stuff like the 2000 series to drop in price, and then buy them when they are less painful to switch to than now. Because now, if you're looking at me going from a 1660 Super to maybe a 2070 Super, it's almost double the price. When the price difference isn't that big, it makes more sense to go for the performance I need instead of just going all out on the performance I want but may not use at all.
I totally agree, but that enthusiasts will probably go for early adopter, like the first launch of
Yeah,
the
we are
RTX
sure.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, we are sure to see people going all out, going Founders Edition on the 3080 when it launches. That's a given. Though they're gonna be paying a huge premium to be the first to use them,
I
and they
agree.
may have to deal with issues with integrating with any drivers or whatever that may be having problems since they are so new, and Nvidia and AMD may not have found those issues yet.
Yeah, I agree. So most probably I'll just wait for the prices to go down and then probably switch my 2080 Super to 3080. But we'll see when the time comes because the prices really matter, I guess. You know,
Yeah,
for some people that doesn't have like cash laying around the house.
yeah, I'm a poor boy.
Yes, as same as I. So yeah, I'll probably wait. And for the most part, of the consumer market, I think people will wait.
Yeah, that might be the smarter thing to do, though you never know. We've seen people queue for iPhones.
Uh huh. Definitely.
So
Like 2 3 days in advance.
yeah, but well, you never know. We what all we can do now is to wait for the thing to finally drop, and for Nvidia to finally release official details on them. And while we're on the topic of Nvidia, another huge piece of news is that they are reportedly in advanced talks to buy over ARM. This looks like Nvidia's attempt at entering the consumer PC and mobile CPU space, while obtaining for themselves a top-level chip design division they can deploy for their own interests. On the other hand, SoftBank, who bought UK-based ARM not long after the Brexit referendum in 2016, is looking to offload the company in what might be an attempt to cover some of the huge losses they've made in their investments over the years. While this seems like huge news, not all are very happy about this development. When interviewed by the BBC, ARM co-founder Herman Hauser remarked that this potential takeover could be a disaster for the company, as this could end the neutrality of their business model while hamstringing their research and development potential. Hauser explained that ARM's business model, which involves developing chip designs and technologies and licensing them to anyone who wants to use them as the basis of their own designs, while allowing licensees the freedom to customize those designs, would be compromised by it being owned by Nvidia, a direct competitor in the chipmaking space. He also believes that ARM will not have full control over its research and development after the takeover, as it will become just another division under Nvidia, which will be calling the shots on R&D. Other industry observers like Jerry Hildenbrand of Android Central are worried that Nvidia may make ARM develop chip designs that will work best for Nvidia and Nvidia only, at the expense of other chip makers it licenses its designs to. If ARM's chips become more difficult for licensees to customize their requirements, what do you think will happen? Now, that would actually be something Apple may have to have a deep and serious look at, as they could very well be the first casualty of such a development. If the CPU designs they base theirs on turn out to only work best with Nvidia components instead of their own, and end up having to develop workarounds and compromises in order for those chips to deliver the performance they want anyway, you can very well imagine that Apple's not going to be very happy, to say the very least. And that's not all too, as a move like this could very well be considered anti-competition in the eyes of the regulators, as this could place pretty much every chipmaker that uses ARM tech at the mercy of Nvidia. And by that I mean basically every single microchip manufacturer apart from Intel and AMD. Will this be good for the market at large? While we're not in the position to make any comments in this regard, but from a consumer standpoint, it's better to have more instead of less competition, as this pushes every competitor to innovate and create better and more affordable products.
Speaking of competition, it looks like we can expect a lot of it in the mobile space as well. In the affordable, no frills segment, we have the Google Pixel 4a. And they take the no frills tag pretty damn far indeed, as there's no optional extras at all. You can't even choose the color. Huh, imagine that. It's matte black or bust. There's no extra storage, no large size version, no 4K, no fancy multiple cameras, no fancy biometric security systems either. No glass or metal bodies too. It's made of plastic, so it's not water resistant either. No 5G too, as 5G conspiracy theories may rejoice. I think, though not for long, as it will be coming later this year, just not to Singapore. Oh dear, I'm sad. The standard version will also not be sold in any local telco. They can be pre-ordered on Google Store, Cots Online, Tech, while Amazon Singapore will sell it on 10th September, and they will cost $499 over here or 350 in the States. Not selling in the telcos. Why? That is so weird. Not selling in the telcos.
Well, Google has had a strategy of limiting the release and availability of its smartphones for quite a while actually.
Yeah,
Given
I know,
how
right?
difficult it is to find a Pixel,
In Singapore,
yeah,
because just normally they just limit to one telco
yeah,
to sell it. Yeah, and then now is not even be available on telcos, which I would like to say. Normally, Singaporeans like us, we wait for our telco plan to finish to get a new smartphone, right? We don't normally just buy the cell phone
yeah.
off the
Usually
rack.
we do this on contract and not flat out
Yeah,
full frontal payments.
yeah, because the how it works in Singapore is actually they give you a discount if you're recontracting or signing up for a new telco plan. I don't know how it works in the States, but this is how it works in Singapore. But why not selling in the telco? This is weird. I mean, I definitely feel really weird out by this move from Google.
Well, from in my perspective, maybe the justification for doing it this way, to selling it fully upfront, is that it's cheap enough to not be profitable for the telcos to run it on contract plans. So they might as well just sell it full upfront anyway.
I think you
Because
have a
it's
plan.
not gonna cost
Yeah,
them too much. It's not gonna make too much of a hole in our wallets, dropping five
yeah,
hundred dollars on a phone.
yeah. I think you have a point there. To be honest,
Though not having it on any telco still kind of sucks. I
yeah,
mean,
it,
we
it
still
really
have to
sucks.
go when we only have 4 places to go to buy a phone that could very well be very suitable and good for us. It's
Mm-hmm.
a bit messed up
Yeah,
when
it's I yeah
we
I agree.
then there are only these few places we can get it from.
Anyway, what the 4A does have is a standard headphone jack, which we don't see anywhere else right about now, and a decent 1 day battery. Also, according to reviews, its single rear camera is pretty damn good. Well, for the benefit of the doubt, it's Google, so their camera should be spot on.
Yeah, the Pixel 4's camera has been pretty highly rated among tech
Yeah, even the
reviewers.
3A, right, the single camera one is really good as well.
Yeah,
All right, though we can't tell you exactly how good it is, as we haven't been able to get our hands on one yet, unless somehow someone from Google or their distributors happen to be listening to this and we're happy to send us a set to test.
hint hint.
Hello, Google. Uh,
Hello.
hello, Google. Okay. Basically, we can sum these phones up like this. If you swear by Apple, the cheapest iPhone you can get is the 64 GB one at $399 or $649 locally. If you want a big, nice screen and multiple cameras for roughly the same money, the OnePlus Nord and A51 are in many ways basically the same thing. The Nord can be configured with more RAM, the A51 more storage, and a headphone jack. Otherwise, there really aren't much difference. If you want supposedly superb camera and the best Google support for less money than any of the phone previously mentioned, you can go for the Pixel 4a. And if you don't like the color, material, texture, use the money you have saved to buy a fancy case for the phone.
And at the other end of the smartphone performance and price spectrum, we have Samsung launching the Galaxy Z Fold 2 and Note 20 series, the latter having what Samsung claim is the best camera they've ever put in a phone. But you could argue they never had a high bar to clear in the first place, given their infamy in overprocessing the photos captured from their image sensors. Now, two versions of the phone have launched, the vanilla Note 20 and premium Note 20 Ultra, sharing the same Snapdragon 865 Plus processor, Android 10 OS, 10 megapixel front camera, 8K video and 5G capability, in-screen fingerprint sensor, and not much else actually. The Ultra is bigger and heavier with a better screen and battery, internal storage up to 512 gigs, expandable storage up to 1 terabyte, more RAM, and a monstrous 108 megapixel main rear camera instead of the 12 megapixel one on the standard Note 20. But those specs are for the US versions of the phones. The ones you will get here in Singapore use the Exynos 990 processor, which in the S20 series phones reportedly exhibited less battery life than the Snapdragon variants. No options for internal storage either, 256 gigs being the only size we will get. What's definitely not small is the price. The vanilla Note 20 costs about $1,400 in Singapore, its 5G version $1,548, and the Ultra $1,900. But hey, when there are non-flagship iPhones costing more, such a price tag doesn't seem all too ridiculous, unless you look at the likes of OnePlus and Google Pixel. And speaking of iPhones, the iPhone 12 may be coming soon, though likely not all variants at the same time. Apple has confirmed a supply delay of a few weeks, which means the earliest we might see any of them could be late September or early October, instead of mid-September like in previous years. Rumor has it, nothing to do with Adele, that we will get 4 variants of the iPhone 12. The Pro and Max versions may go on sale first, followed by a few weeks later by the vanilla iPhone 12 and the supersized Pro Max. No news on prices yet, but I expect neither to be cheap and for fans to queue day and night in order to get them on launch day. And the cheap end of the market is not the only place Google is competing in. While we have no idea when the Pixel 5 is coming, traditionally Google has launched their flagship phones in October, so that's a time we can probably look forward to. And if the rumors turn out to be true, this could well be the cheapest flagship smartphone in years, bucking the trend of top-tier smartphone prices, spiraling further upwards with every new launch. While we will never know for sure until the phone gets launched for real, is it a good thing to be lowering the barrier of entry into the top of the smartphone ownership table? Personally, as a consumer, I'm for it, as prices have been getting into borderline stupid territory these days. You could pretty much buy a pretty damn good laptop for the money of one phone. And heck, my entire PC costs less than the vanilla Note 20.
Yeah, I think smartphone prices is really going a bit out of control these days.
Yeah.
Pretty insane that how much they charge, like 1,900 for a smartphone. You can
Well,
buy a DSLR for that.
well, and that's for Samsung only. You haven't even gotten to the iPhones.
Yeah. Let's hope that the iPhone actually drops in price or stay, competitive, I would say.
Yeah. Otherwise, dropping what? $2,400 on a bloody phone? Seems pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, I would say.
You have to
Oh my
be
goodness.
pretty rich or pretty mad to buy one.
Yeah.
or pretty fanatically attached to Apple?
There's people out there that do that, but
Way too
you
many
know,
of them, actually.
yeah, kind of. I will agree.
Now let's move on to probably the less boring, but also more likely to strike a chord to you and me, games. And let's start with a game that I don't play yet, Call of Duty Warzone. Specifically, the hacking problem that's been plaguing the game. PC Games reports that console players of the game are disabling crossplay, the player matchmaking system that allows PC and console players to take part in the same matches, due to the prevalence of hacking among PC players. They're willing to wait longer for game lobbies to be populated and reduce the number of matches they can participate in, just to avoid having some importers snipe them across the map before they have any chance to do anything about it. It's gotten to a point that game developer Infinity Ward has had to go on multiple ban waves in an effort to rid the game of hackers, and have had to make multiple statements throughout the year on what they define as cheating and what they will be doing about them. As of April, they've already banned more than 70,000 players, but the waves of complaints against hacking have been growing instead of subsiding, with players reporting that the cheating problem has been getting worse. While I've experienced playing against hackers in other games and know how infuriating it can be, let's have the actual players of the game tell us more about the hacking problem in Warzone. Now, Ryan, in your experiences, which are the most common types of hacks being used in the games?
Okay, first of all, fuck you, hackers. Okay, fuck you for making my experience of the game suck and making my life a living hell. First off, let's say hacks, man. Hacks, holy shit, tons and tons of fucking hacks. We have seen aimbotters, wallers, freaking radar hacks, infinity money. That is insane. I have seen people clustering an area non-stop just to win the game. Non-stop. Whoever, to those people who have played the game, imagining having a cluster strike laid on you non-stop. Non-stop. How would you feel? It is so shit. And this has been, I mean, this hacking issue has been addressed by so many gamers already. YouTubers, streamers, all of them put out videos on it. Why is Infinity Ward not doing anything about it? The only thing we saw previously is just a message from Infinity Ward, basically saying, "We know you're hacking, but can you please stop hacking?" What is that? How is that helpful? How is that helpful? It's not solving the problem. It's like, which hacker in the right mind will listen to you? Stop hacking. It's like telling a bank robber to drop their guns and walk out of the damn bank. So, I don't know. Nick Merckx recently, I think 1 week, 2 weeks ago, posted a video about him stopping, stop playing the game because it has gone so bad. Tim the Tap Man posted numerous videos about this hacking issue on the game. Even Jack Frags from the UK posted a couple of videos as well. So why all these big names in the gaming industry is creating videos about it, is talking about it, and why is Infinity Ward not doing anything about it? I have no idea. But recently, Season 5 just came out. Really good, really excited. I played a couple of games yesterday, won my first game yesterday as well. It's really good. It's good content. I'm telling you guys, Warzone is one of the best, if not the best, period, BRs in the market right now. And the hacking issue is a big problem because people are enjoying this game. People are spending money. You got so much money, Infinity Ward. Do something about the hackers. Well, granted, I don't want to jinx it. I didn't run into any hackers yesterday. Maybe a Waller, but you know, I believe they've done something with season 5's launch, but I'm talking about the long run. So we'll see. We'll see. Because right now Ubisoft just launched their new BR as well. So if they are not fixing this, then people might just jump ship from then on. So I hope they really do something about this hacking issue, which is really, really bad.
Well, you mentioned a lot about how these hackers are terrorizing the game. Now, how can you tell if and when players are hacking?
Dude, if a guy snipes you, like he don't even see you, he quick scopes you across the freaking map, what would you think? That's a guy fucking hacking, right?
Yeah.
And if a guy is tracking you when you're in a damn building, he has no sight on you, would you think he's hacking? I mean, I got so many footage of people hacking, tracking me, aimbotting me. I it's wasting space on my hard drive, basically. So yeah, I would say it's a big problem right now.
Getting tracked. I experienced that in Battlefield 4 recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's I was playing a small map, and for some weird reason, I could always, wherever I was on the map, get backstabbed.
A speed hack, isn't it? That somebody can teleport. Oh my god, the door, dude. Um, somebody can teleport behind you and just kill you instantly, right?
Could be that, or maybe, or we don't know, because me and my friends were playing and it seemed like they were doing some sort of hack. Either it was a map hack or a teleport hack, we don't know. But what we do know is that wherever we went, we were backstabbed, even if their bases were on the exact opposite side of the map.
Well, yeah. I mean, hacking is a problem for all competitive or FPS games because hackers hack. That's what they do. But it's extremely damaging to a game as popular and as fun as Warzone. And it's constant. It's constant because it's free to play. Because if games go free to play, there's bound to be hackers. But I mean, you're earning so much money, Infinity Ward. You do something about it, you know?
Now, how bad has it gotten in terms of proportion between legit players like you and hackers?
Okay, so basically, let's say 10 games, right? That there was a point that was so bad that 10 games out of 10 games, 7 games as hackers. So you can imagine how bad it was
How
at that
many
point of time.
among those players were hacking?
What do you mean?
How many players in each of those matches?
Well,
Wait,
you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know unless they kill you because you got the death screen. You can see how they kill
okay.
you. So you don't know, like, actually in the game there's how many hackers.
That kind
It
of
could be
sucks.
like out of like 150 players or 200 players on quads, there might be a good amount, like 20% is hacking, and some hackers are better than the other hackers, so they kill them. We don't know, you know. So unless I actually got killed by a hacker, I would know. If you play the game enough, you would know. I got like what 800 hours on this game already. So yeah,
And then, what, apart from reporting them, obviously, can players do about
you can't
this?
do you can't do shit, dude. Okay, it's either you report them and block them and meet another hacker, another game. Or I can just don't do anything, just report. Okay, I'm done with this shit. Okay, or I can just fucking uninstall the fucking game. Yeah, that's the few things we can do, right? As players, you can't do anything much, to be honest,
That kind of
because it's the
sucks.
developers' jobs to do it, right? If
Yeah.
they're not doing it and not listening to the community, then you know we have to jump ship soon because this is excruciating.
And
You know,
that brings to mind another question. What can the developers do about this apart from just going on ban waves?
okay, if a certain amount of reports on a specific player has been made in one match, they should automatically be suspended or banned, right? Am I right to say, like, in the whole game, there's 150 people. If, say, 20 people report this guy, there must be something fishy about him, right?
Yeah, I would
Like,
imagine.
right? You get what I mean,
Yeah.
correct? It's not like, oh, I'm just reporting this motherfucker for fun. You know, why would I need? Why would I press X, go to cheating, press for fun? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Like say, like per game, a hacker, let's say, per game, he has like what 30 kills, 40 kills, maybe 17, 20 kills, and then there's like out of that 17 kills or 20 kills, 80% of the people report them. There must be a problem, right? With that guy, it must be fishy, right? There's something wrong with that guy. If it's a legit kill, people are just like, oh, okay, he killed me. Okay, fuck, I'm unlucky, or he's better
He's
than me.
just good.
Yeah, it's like, why would I report somebody that's better than me? Well, I might be salty as fuck, but not all 20 people is salty as fuck, right?
Yeah.
So that is one of the ways they can do that instead of you know, manually do it. And how many fucking free accounts are they gonna, ban then? And I suggest motherboard bans.
Ah.
Yeah, which I heard they are doing or in the progress of doing. I don't know the news now, but this is a good plan. If they ban you, they ban your motherboard. So if you want to cheat again, just buy another motherboard, then,
That could be
right?
one
But
way
which
to.
not most hackers would do, because buying a motherboard doesn't make sense, right? Just play a game and hack in it and then get banned again and then buy another
Yeah, it
motherboard.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? So this works, and then the fucking the hackers would stop at least for a while, and then you find a more permanent solution to this. I am not an expert at preventing this, but as a player, these are the things that I can think of, and I think that the developers should push out as soon as possible. For the benefit of the game. They want to make money. We want to play. We spending. So do something about it. Again,
Yeah,
as I mentioned.
yeah, let's hope the developers develop some kind of more permanent solution to this hacking problem. And now let's move on to another piece of news, which might again piss off some gamers. Because the Marvel's Avengers is launching a new free DLC early next year, which will bring a new, hugely popular addition to its roster of playable characters, Spider-Man. But he will only be available on PlayStation. Meaning, if you want to play the game as Spider-Man, you have to buy a PS4 or PS5. And understandably, Xbox and PC players are crying foul. To make a game across multiple platforms and then give each platform different gaming experiences and content is basically favoritism based on platform. The exact kind of thing you do to please a few and utterly piss off everyone else. I could use another term for that, but I don't think that would be very nice. And while it makes business sense for Sony to use Spider-Man, whose movie rights Sony holds, to entice more gamers to buy the upcoming PS5, players on every other platform will rightfully feel screwed over at being denied the chance to use what could very well be their favorite Marvel superhero. As the game has not officially launched yet, a few questions come to mind. How will sales of the game be affected both overall and across different platforms? We will know for now, so we can only continue monitoring developments on this story and update you with what we find.
Let's now talk about another highly anticipated game that's coming out sometime this year and some of the outcry surrounding it. A gameplay reel from Halo Infinite has recently been released and the reaction to it has been strong. The biggest complaint has been the graphics, and it sucks. Players are insanely displeased with what they see. Various reasons have been offered by observers. Some argue that the lighting techniques being used for the games are causing objects in shadow to lose detail. And then some form of ray tracing might go a long way towards making object looks less flat. Others say the graphics themselves don't look and feel natural. The level of detail system is rather aggressive, turning objects that aren't very far away or big enough not look far away into simple, unnatural shapes. This could be a factor of developing a larger, more open world than any previous Halo game that's still to be able to run on legacy systems like Xbox One. While there are no shortages of games which deliberately prioritize gameplay over graphics and image quality, but most of them, like iRacing, CSGO, and League of Legends, are inherently closed world. While fancy, beautiful graphics mean nothing if the gameplay is rubbish, one of the main draws of an open world is how the world in the game looks. So there is a need for the graphics to be reasonably good so that when you're not fighting enemies, you at least have a decent enough scenery to look at. And for shooter games like Halo Infinite, this cannot be a demerit to the gunplay, enemy movement, and weapon variety, as boring gameplay would turn players off far quicker than non great graphics can. It is obvious and hugely difficult balancing act, but what do you think should be the sweet spot between graphics, gameplay, and legacy compatibility? For me, personally, I think the gameplay. But of course, the graphics comes next.
Yeah, in my perspective, if you're going to develop an open world game like what Halo Infinite seems to be, and something like maybe Tom Clancy's A Division 2, there is a sort of requirement to at least make the graphics nice enough to look at when you are not fighting but traveling between your fights.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't want to make all the you won't want to make all the running and traveling in between and just
Yeah, it's
and
like shit, isn't it?
and for
Like,
that to suck takes away the experience of the game, especially when you don't get fast travel and that kind of and teleports, especially earlier in the game. And for things like Grand Theft Auto, if the driving experience sucks, you're not going to play that game.
yeah,
So
true.
so there needs to be some sort of a balance. Maybe the open world, the scenery doesn't need to look that great, so that you have more capacity to develop your gameplay. So to make sure that the enemy movements, your guns, and your items that are available are still enough to keep gamers interested for over a long period of time. Yeah, and also in terms of legacy compatibility, it's difficult given that, especially for something like Halo, which will launch on Xbox,
Yeah,
when the
I
Xbox
think
One is so old,
yeah,
having it
yeah.
run.
I think that's the least worry for people, like legacy compatibility.
Yeah, that's mostly the least of our concerns actually. But for them to have to release a game that can also run on Xbox One and the newer Xbox Series X equally is pretty difficult, because the Xbox One is years old already, and it doesn't have the technology to keep up with what we have in modern PCs and consoles.
Yeah. So I think the legacy compatibility would
To
be,
have to accommodate for something for the old technology
there must
kind
be
of
a
defeats the
spec gap,
purpose
you know.
actually.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose. So I think legacy compatibility is the least of the concerns, but between gameplay and graphics, I would choose gameplay more than graphics for, of course, at least a FPS
Yeah,
game.
for more closed world games.
Yeah, if you're telling me like open world, Red Dead Redemption, I would prefer the graphics, to be honest, because I'm traveling most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
But of course, the gameplay must be, intriguing enough
The
for me to
game
keep
itself
playing.
must still be fun and not too
Repetitive or
too
boring.
repetitive and boring.
Yeah, which Ubisoft is really good at doing.
Yeah. Well,
Shots fired.
yeah. I love Division 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
They've done a good job with that. Because
I would say they improved.
yeah, the open world actually looks pretty good most of the time. It does take a lot of CPU power to run it at very high image quality, which I'm not running at ultra, I'm running on high for the FPS. But it still looks decent across the board. And the fights aren't boring, at least until you start grinding for items after you complete the end game.
But it's an RPG game,
so it's not terrible, and the balance there is pretty spot on in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But for more specialized games and more focused games like iRacing, CSGO, the priority needs to be on gameplay, because there you have real professional players fighting against each other.
Because it's a esports game.
Yeah,
like it's a competitive esports gaming game. That's why
when there are prizes on the line, it becomes different.
Yeah, it's like the Valorant launch. I haven't got my hands on it yet. Like, I haven't stopped playing it yet, but I hear a lot of good reviews about it. The gameplay is fantastic. The graphics is so. You can run it on a pretty potato PC, I would say. So I think players have to be a bit more forgiving, to be honest. If I mean, the game is not out yet, but once you play it, and then the developers are actually speaking out, saying that this is not the final product that you'll see. This is just a trailer. So take it with a grain of salt. It will be much better. So I would say for Halo, maybe give them a bit more time or leeway to do it, and then we'll see at the final product.
Let's see what really comes out when it launches at the end of the year. Let's give them a fighting chance, and not let's not just crush them.
Nail them to the board right now. And that's that.
And with that, thank you to all of you listening to this for sitting through the first episode of Tech and Whatever. If you liked our content, do consider subscribing to us on Spotify and all our other platforms. And if you have any opinions on the topics we've discussed, what you'd like us to cover in future episodes, and how we can do better, do feel free to leave a comment or speak to us directly, and we will do our best to respond to you as much as we can.
Once again, thank you for tuning into Tech and Whatever. We'll see and hear you soon in the next one.